Girl, stop playing.
Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Stop Playing podcast. It's your favorite homegirl, Coriel, here to encourage you to stop playing with your potential and start working for what you want in life and in love. Y'all know it's time for another solo sermon where I share what is on my spirit, what God has been giving me so that I can give you a good word to help you get it together. Now, all of these solo sermons are literally coming from things that I've been through, maybe some things that I'm currently going through, and hopefully will be full of lessons learned that will help you do the work required to get what you want. If you are enjoying the podcast, make sure you leave your girl a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you have not tuned in to our live episodes that air each and every Thursday on YouTube, make sure you are tuning in and tapping in at 8 p.m. So this week's solo sermon is entitled Unpack Your Bags, okay? So listen to this. Gotta start out with this question. Make note of it. Is your baggage holding you back? So imagine packing your biggest suitcase for a week-long getaway. You pack several options. If you're like me, you got a suitcase full of things, okay? Several options based on the different places you may go and the things you may do. You go on the vacation, go a bunch of different places, share space with a bunch of different people, get exposed to a bunch of different germs, and then you return home. But instead of unpacking your suitcase right away, hello somebody, I definitely don't unpack right away. Instead of you unpacking your suitcase right away and washing your clothes, you leave the suitcase packed up. Then, a few months later, when it's time for you to go somewhere else for your next adventure, you roll that same suitcase outside and you head right to the airport. You're headed to a new destination with the same baggage, the same energies, same toxins, same germs, and the memories of your last trip ingrained in your clothing. Now, every day on this next trip, you put on the same clothes from that last trip. Can you imagine how funky you would be? How dirty you probably look? Even though you're taking daily showers, trying to cover up the fact that you're wearing dirty clothes, you are still dirty. This is essentially what we are doing when we go from place to place, person to person, relationship to relationship, conflict to conflict, without unpacking our baggage, without letting go of our burdens and breathing through and thinking through what we've been through. Now, I'm the queen of thinking that I can handle it all. Sometimes I even try to hide it all, okay, if we're being honest. Believing that I can get through anything without having to pause to reflect on what I've been through. Just going from experience to experience can take a toll on you eventually, no matter how tough you are, no matter how strong you were raised to be, no matter how often you seem to have it all together. And so you gotta be unwilling to unpack that baggage and release those burdens so that you can create space for your blessings. There is goodness coming to you, but you got to cleanse your energy and clear your negative emotions so that you are truly open to receiving every opportunity God has for you. So let's get into a couple things that you're going to have to unpack. Number one, you got to unpack your emotions, okay? Because sometimes we go into new experiences expecting the same outcome as the last experience. We take our hurts, our broken hearts from person to person, and then we wonder why we end up in the same situation with a different face. We never pause to really give ourselves the time to figure out why we've been triggered, what led to the hurt, and what's the underlying issue for the emotions that we are experiencing. So you got to be willing to unpack your emotions before you get into that next thing. Again, whether it's a relationship, hopefully it's not a situationship, but whether it's a personal relationship, a professional relationship, a new business opportunity or endeavor, a new company, a new career, you have to be willing to unpack your emotions from that last thing before you move into the next thing. You got to be willing to unpack your toxic traumas. How many times have we heard of sexual assault victims who have been victimized multiple times, several times, right? It's crazy to imagine being victimized multiple times by different people. Imagine being assaulted several times and never going through the proper healing process to unpack your experience. You just take those traumas from person to person, often attracting predators. And now that's like a little bit of a dramatic example, but a lot of times, even if it's not sexual assault, it might be verbal abuse, financial abuse, emotional abuse, narcissism. A lot of times we are attracting predators, people who are preying on us, not preying for us, but people who are preying on us based on what we're putting out, based on the energy that we exude. And until you are willing to unpack those toxic traumas, you're going to continue to exude the energy that attracts trauma. So you got to be willing to unpack your emotions. You got to be willing to unpack your toxic traumas. You also got to be willing to unpack your beliefs. Okay? Because most of us never really stops to consider why we believe what we believe. If we did, we would often realize that the majority of our beliefs are based on an outdated belief system that we were born into, based on the experience of our parents. And depending on your age, who knows what era our parents were born into, what they were going through. We develop these beliefs based on what we saw earliest in life, what we heard in our childhood home, the fears of our parents, etc., etc., etc. Once you've evolved, though, when you've evolved, you've matured, and you've made it to a certain age, you owe it to yourself to start reconsidering what you were taught and rewriting your own life rules based on your true belief system, based on your life experiences. I cannot even tell you how many of the lies, okay, I can't even dress it up and make it sound cute. I can't even tell you how many of the lies that I was believing based on what my mama told me as a little girl, carrying into adulthood. Things that she literally told me to just get me out of her face. Things that she literally told me because she didn't feel like explaining the truth. And so here I am, not only believing what I was told, but repeating what I was told. Now, thankfully, I came to the realization that I needed to unpack my beliefs and rewrite my rules before I had children. But a lot of people don't ever come to this realization. So what do? They end up teaching their children, regurgitating these rules to their children based on what their parents told them. And sometimes it might not even be based in truth. Sometimes your parents think things are based in truth when it's really based in fear. Okay? So you got to unpack your beliefs. Ask yourself, are these beliefs a reflection of what I currently believe? Or am I just regurgitating what was taught to me? So you got to unpack your beliefs. You got to unpack your insecurities, okay? No matter how together we may appear to be, regardless of how much someone might be goals, okay? Everybody is goals. Yes, it's goals. Relationship goals. Yes. But we all have an insecurity, okay? Something we would love to change, something we admire in other people, because we think that we lack these things in ourselves. And so you have to be willing to spend some time unpacking the root cause of those insecurities. Once you take time to do that, you'll be much more prepared to present yourself properly instead of presenting a representative because your pride won't let you present the true you. So most of us think about like representatives when we talk about dating. You know, they say, you know, a man isn't going to be his true self when you first start dating. He's going to send in his representative. He's going to send in like the perfect version that has all the right answers, that's doing all the right things. A lot of times we are sending in those representatives on a day-to-day basis based on us not really wanting to present who we truly are, based on those insecurities, based on the things that we think we lack. Okay, so you gotta be willing to unpack your insecurities, or you are going to attract people who take advantage of those insecurities, who recognize those insecurities. Okay? And last but not least, you gotta unpack your negative energy. If you spend too much time sharing space with negative Nancy, y'all, we talked about negative Nancy, okay? You gotta let sis go. Because if you spend too much time with negative Nancy, it's bound to rub off on you. You are bound to start presenting as a pessimistic person when you're around people who do nothing but complain and share sob stories. Stop allowing people to invite you to their pity parties. And just because they invite you does not mean that you have to accept. Does not mean that you have to attend. I'm sorry, I'm busy. I cannot attend your pity party. I can't be a part of this. I cannot give any of my energy to something unless it's a solution. But most people don't want a solution. Most people who are inviting you to their pity parties, they don't want a solution. They just want pity. They just want to have something to talk about. And so a lot of the time we waste so much of our lives letting people just unload their ish on us. We are literally drained at the end of the day because people have dumped their negative energy off on us all day. You have to figure out a way to release negative energy and remove yourself from negative influences. So listen, this is the thing. This is the bright side. This is the good part, because it sounds like it's really heavy. And yes, you got a whole lot of work to do, but you don't have to do it alone. Okay? All of the challenges, all of the obstacles, you got God on your side. You got God supporting you through it. And so if you are just willing to take it to God, and not just take it to him, but give it to him, give it over to him and let him do his thing, I promise you, you can go through it. A lot of us stop in the midst of the madness. Okay, you don't want to stop in the madness. You want to get through it so you can get to it. And so in order to truly live the life that you deserve, you got to start unpacking your bags. You got to unpack your emotions. You got to unpack your toxic traumas. You got to unpack your old belief systems, those negative belief systems, those limiting beliefs that are based on what someone else before you came up with. Someone else's experience. You got to unpack that. Get rid of it. Get it out your bag. Because we're starting fresh. We can't start fresh. We can't be looking for something new. We can't be praying for this new experience if we're going to take our old baggage into it with us. Because guess what? I don't know of much, I don't know of anything worse than getting what you've been praying for, but you mess it up because you're not ready for it. You got what you prayed for, but you didn't spend any time preparing for it. So now you've been blessed with this thing, with this person, with this opportunity, but you mess it up because you're not ready, because you are holding on to that baggage. You're allowing that baggage to be your burden. It's weighing you down, literally. You got to unpack your beliefs. You got to unpack your insecurities. You got to unpack your negative energy. So today I want to just ask you, are you willing? Because you're probably not ready, okay? I was going to ask you, are you ready to unpack your bags? But you're probably not ready. Are you willing to unpack your bags? Do you believe the life that God has for you is worthy of you being willing? Is it worthy of your willingness? You got to be willing to get crystal clear on what you've been holding on to that's been a burden on you. Because you can't heal what you won't reveal. And it's going to be hard for you to carry all of the blessings that God has for you if you're busy allowing your baggage to weigh you down. You are worthy of so much more than you're currently experiencing. God has such a bright and beautiful and blessing-filled plan for your life. But you can't just pray for it. You got to prepare for it. And part of the preparation is being willing to unpack your bags. I love you. I got nothing but love for you. I want nothing but love for you. I hope that you're feeling inspired and encouraged because you already have everything you need to get everything you want if you are willing to work. Let's work.
Record.